How often have you used the smell test for milk or fish or meat in your fridge to decide if it's still good enough to eat? And how often have you regretted that hours later because of an upset stomach or a trip to the emergency room?
The major causes of at-home food poisoning are confusion about food labels or disregard them, which probably isn't a good idea. Joining us with more information, Alice Benjamin. She's an emergency room registered nurse and a nurse clinical specialist. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is kind of an argument in my own home. We debate whether or not something is good, but when we talk about food poisoning. What are the symptoms? When do people, know that they need to go to a doctor, go to the emergency room?
Right. So food poisoning is basically an illness from eating contaminated food. It's been contaminated with a virus, bacteria, mold, or yeast, and those type of toxins. And sometimes that happens in the preparation of our food. Now, ways to know if you've been exposed and have food poisoning: you'll have nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, intense abdominal cramps, fevers, chills, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. And it usually lasts for about 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
And most people can kind of make do at home. But if those symptoms last longer than 3 days, fever is 101, you're just too weak, you can't keep any food down, we want you to come to the emergency room.
Oh, gosh. All right. So there are a whole bunch of different categories of labels. They say different things. So let's take a look at the different ones. What does the best if used by date mean?
So this is a date for us, the consumers. It's a date of freshness. So this date tells us how long the product will be at its best flavor, its best texture, its best quality, but it does not refer to food safety or spoilage.
Okay. So then how do we know? If we see that, do we go a few days after that, or do we?
Right. So the key is you need to make sure that you store your food properly.
Okay.
Keep it, if it's cold foods, keeping it cold in the refrigerator. If it's meant to be a dry food, keeping it dry in a cool place, and making sure that we're just monitoring its surroundings.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the other one that you'll see on the packaging is the sell-by date.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Sell-by date, so that's a date usually for the stores and the retailers. It tells them, hey, this is how long the product should be on the shelf. That way, if it's sold by that date, we, the consumers, still have plenty of time to enjoy it at home.
Okay.
So, but again, it doesn't refer to a spoilage or safety date. It's just a date that kind of gives us some reference of how long we can use it.
This next one, the use by date, I would imagine if you're not eating it by then, don't keep it around, right?
Yes. So this is a date for us, the consumer, use by date. So after this date, the quality of the food will begin to deteriorate.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily mean that it's expired or it's spoiled on that date, but that's the date that says, hey, this is really kind of.
If I don't use it, I'm done with it.
You should.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Now the other one. This is the expiration date. This is when it is expiring. Do we follow that date?
Yeah, so don't risk it. I know many of us have looked at this date and wanted to risk it, but this is the date where the manufacturer says, after this date, we can no longer guarantee the product's safety, effectiveness, the taste, and it has the potential to, spoil. So do not use it beyond this date. Now, I know you'll want to chance it, but still, just toss it out. But I also want to say, just because you see that expiration date, your food still has the opportunity to spoil before that. So you should always inspect your food. Your food will talk to you.
Yeah.
Smell it, look at it. You should be inspecting your food, anything, before you put it in your mouth.
Yes. All right. The Cleveland Wellness Institute recently put together a refresher report on how long different foods last in your refrigerator and when they can be safely consumed. We're going to roll through the major ones. The biggest culprit, unless it's already curdled, milk.
Yes. So milk. You'll usually see a best by date on your milk. So milk can be good 2 to 3 days after this date. But rule of thumb, once you open the product, especially milk, it's good 7 to 10 days after opening it. So that still may go bad before that best by date. So those are things to keep in mind when you're drinking milk.
Okay.
What about butter and margarine?
So butter is good for 2 to 3 weeks after the date. Margarine 4 to 6 months after the date.
Oh, wow.
Now, but remember, you got to store these properly. They should be cool and in your refrigerator, and preferably in the back.
Okay.
Eggs.
Eggs can be good anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks after the best by date on the package.
Really? 5 weeks?
Yes, but the thing is, they need to be cool.
Okay.
Keep them in the back of the refrigerator and preferably in their container. I know most refrigerators have those fancy egg shelves on the door. Don't put them on there, because having it on the door exposes it to more temperature changes as you open and close that door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
After 5 weeks, they become fried. It's good for fried chicken.
Yes.
How long will chicken, ground meat, ground poultry last?
So if you're going to buy it, you should use it right away or freeze it. So typically 1 to 2 days, it's okay in your refrigerator.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't,
short amount of time.
Short amount of time. And if you don't use it, don't be tempted to put it back in the refrigerator because it's already started to, you know, do what it's going to do. So just toss it if you're not going to use it in 1 to 2 days.
Okay.
The last one is, and I think this can be tricky, fish. Because fish has, you know, it smells like fish. But if it smells too fishy, I guess that's when you shouldn't.
Fish should smell like the ocean.
Okay.
So even though it's fish, it shouldn't smell like fishy.
I see.
Yeah, so 1 to 2 days. If you're not going to cook it, freeze it right away. And if it stays 1 to 2 days in your fridge, you just toss it. Better safe than sorry.
Okay, Alice Benjamin, emergency room RN, clinical nurse specialist. You can follow her on social media. Check out her website, asknursealice.com. This has helped solve some disagreements, possibly.
Yes, don't risk it. Don't risk it.
Especially on Valentine's
Or you'll see me in the emergency room.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot. Still